We'll call the Transportation and Environmental Services Committee to order. And I would ask if any member of council has a declaration of pecuniary interest, they declare it now or at the appropriate time. Seeing none. We have one action items, and it is the West Road Environmental Assessment. And I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should have done this earlier. Good. The first item is concerning the West Road. If you recall, back in October, we had come before the committee concerning terms of reference for surface water and groundwater study. I think I'll use those terms as opposed to hydrological and hydrogeologic study. So surface water, groundwater study. We've spent some time, let me just see if we can't, no, anyways, oh, there it is. Perfect. We spent some time discussing with a variety of partners the appropriate methodology for terms of reference. We met on December 11th with SON, MOECC, MNRF, Great Salt Conservation Authority, a consultant on our behalf, and ourselves, and we came up with an improvement on a draft document we'd had some time ago. So consequently, after the meeting in December, the draft terms of reference was furthered and circulated December 21st. And we've received a variety of comments on that document to enable us to come before you today. The build of the terms of reference distinguish between a stage 1 and a stage 2, and the stages follow the environmental assessment process. Stage 1 is intended to do some background work for surface water, groundwater, in order to make comment and comparison and determine an appropriate preliminary preferred solution. So if you recall, we've gone to the public with a draft preliminary preferred solution, and now it was suggested that we consider these other two dynamics, surface water, groundwater, and then retest the preliminary preferred solution to see if where it stands with regard to new information. And so stage 1 is intended to undertake that evaluation so we can return to committee with a preferred solution, acknowledging with public a preferred solution. So we're acknowledged with public preferred solution, and finally come to committee with preferred solution. So the intent of the stage 1. The stage 2, which is not before you today and not a part of the estimate we've received from a consultant, is the phase 3 of an environmental assessment. That's when we look at preferred design. So right now we're looking at conceptual preferred solution, do nothing, rehabilitate, reconstruct gravel, reconstruct hot mix, rehabilitate hot mix, pulverize, and a variety of things. So you've seen a very preliminary preferred solution that we now have to retest with better information concerning surface water, groundwater. So stage 2 is in the future when we've moved beyond, when we've determined a conceptual solution. And then in stage 2, that's when we test with how far in each cross-section on each person's property are we going to go, and what subtleties are available for surface water and groundwater within the limits of the work that we're doing. So that's going to be stage 2 done at a later date. So I'm again sort of broadening this to define stage 1, stage 2. So we've defined stage 1, stage 2. We've got a preliminary estimate from a GM Blue Plan for stage 1. They were torn, giving us sort of rough numbers, and asked that we would consider a time and material application, which we think is indeed quite fair, as we would imagine the investigation and the results of the investigation will ebb and flow as we pass on the results and receive input from a variety of interested parties. So before you, Mr. Chairman, is we've got the recommendation in order to proceed with stage 1.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I'll read the recommendation that GM Blue Plan Engineering be retained to complete stage 1 of the surface water and hydrogeological inventory relating to the West Road Environmental Assessment on a time and material basis. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Ann, seconded by Mitch. Open for discussion. Yes, Janice?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, is this going to happen in the spring and summer then, these two components, the testing and studying?
I believe it will start shortly, is our hope. It's going to start shortly. The thought is for the groundwater, we're likely going to put in some piezometers. There's an allowance in there for a dozen piezometers to be punched in the ground. They're 1-inch tubes, roughly 25-millimeter tubes, punched into the ground at potentially sensitive areas, you know, ANSIs, wetlands, and there's 2 or 3 natural heritage features that we wish to have these around as well for us to assess groundwater. So they may go in sooner than later in frozen conditions, and then we continue to monitor and assess and obtain information. So winter and spring, yes, and probably into summer.
Thank you.
Any further questions from committee? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. The next item number 3 are the information items. The first one, paved and unpaved roads capital program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, to refresh the transportation budget, the transportation budget had included a figure for road paved and unpaved road capital for 2018 in the amount of $5,721,000. And I offered, the report offers how that, the allocation of funds to create that amount. And I always feel it worthwhile to recognize that a lot of funds in the transportation capital road program comes from gas tax in the amount of a little over $2 million, and a significant amount from the province, a little over $400,000. And if I always like to bring committee's attention to the Asset Management Report 2016 that identified the shortfall between a desirable funding stream and our current funding stream. And I believe the chart on the second page of the report actually builds how the Asset Management Report identified 2 components in order to up the amount of money towards the infrastructure needs of paved and unpaved roads. And the chart identifies how the 2019 and further allocations in the budget were arrived at. And I'll jump right to that budget line. That was the spreadsheet attached to the report. And in the report, under the column of 2018 is adopted, you can see that value I mentioned of $5,721,000. And you can see is how the future allocations are gently increased year after year. And you can see the net effect down the bottom of the percentage increases on that particular program. And it is an area where the department is hoping to place, that committee and council will place importance on funding the road infrastructure in the future. So, Mr. Chairman, I won't spend any more time on that stream of funds, but it's incorporated in your budget, and I thought it worthwhile to actually identify it. We also included a list of projects for 2018, and Mr. Chairman, there's one of 2 ways to handle this. We could go down the list I've provided, or I could go down the map and identify the projects for 2018 and speak to it, or I could answer questions from committee on any items that they may have requiring a bit of a further understanding, and that the department perhaps has to pay a bit more attention to.
What does committee wish? Go down the list or just questions? Let's go with Mitch.
Just a question. Are we getting any idea what costs are this year for asphalt?
No, good question, actually. I've not asked Jerry if he's seen any costs. Sherry D., I don't think we've seen anything from our neighbors go out or come through or close yet. Generally, it's a little later in the winter. Like I'm thinking like March-ish, I think Huron Counties goes out or comes in. So no, we don't. We've been running in that $75, $80 a ton mark in the estimates.
Okay.
Okay, are you comfortable with just questions, different areas of the list? I'll open it up then for comments or questions.
Brian, I have received a letter, plus I've got several telephone calls about the Formosa project. Now, we did have that public meeting, and where do we stand? Like when you come up the hill in Formosa, it's very steep, and it is human, just being human, you always seem to speed going up a hill. I don't know why. I've even noticed myself. But when you come out of the church, and I notice when I come out of there, and you stop at the stop sign, and then you look to your left, there seems to be a crown in the road. And then all of a sudden you go to pull out, and a car just pops up over. And especially if you turn right, they're right on the back end of you. Now, a lot of the people want that crown taken off. Have you done any research to see what it will cost to take that crown off? Like, we'll be into the sewer pipes and all that kind of stuff, won't we? Could that be quite costly? Now, I see you already have $600,000 budgeted for that project. So the people that I have talked to, they would be willing, if we cannot afford that this year, to wait another year if it is going to be a substantial cost and do it right. That's all the comments that I'm getting from the public.
If I can offer, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It would appear that the primary objective of the project, people are of a different opinion. The original intention was to urbanize the north limit of the hamlet and then include sidewalk. The design that we had used was something very similar on the hill that exists right now. Naturally, the public meeting, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, you were there, and there were a variety of other people, and we have received a petition since that meeting. Actually, last week we received it. We were aware of the limitation of the top of the hill. We were going to leave it very similar to as it exists. Engineering technologist Martin and I have looked at the top of the hill, and quite frankly, to change the objective of the job is to review that intersection will mean some substantial impacts on adjacent properties. And it was our thinking to include in our February Highways Committee report a response to the petition and identify some areas where more work could be done, subsequently cost as well. And Martin and I talked about it. We're wondering if it would be even worthwhile for myself or Martin to attend a South Bruce council meeting as we had in the past and bring to their attention what the outcome of the petition could mean and some cost sharing and impacts on adjacent lands. So we are aware of it. And if I can offer, the purpose of our public meetings is to garner the ratepayers' thoughts and their sensitivities. If I can offer is there did not need to be a public meeting for that project. Yet as in the past, we hold these public meetings so we can gather people's opinion, so we can respond to questions like this. So I believe that's the department's intent, is possibly come up with a response, possibly approach South Bruce and come back to the Highways Committee.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate having these public meetings, and that refers back to transparency. Let the people know what's going to happen. We really appreciate that, and so I'll look forward to your report in February.
I as well have received a couple of, actually 2 phone calls from 2 people. One of them was representing all of the people from the church, actually. I'm wondering if part of the solution might be to extend the passing lane on the right-hand side. Let people come out into the passing lane, yeah. And the speeders would normally be in the or not the passing lane, the turning lane, so to speak.
Yes. And
the passing lane would be for the speeders, but I'm not sure how far it goes up now. The passing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a turnover what you call a,
The subtlety is the project was driven to urbanize the top of the hill and put in sidewalk. Consequently, we've got high back curb and gutter on the east side where that passing lane ends. So where in the past people would cavalierly drive up the grass boulevard, is they will no longer be able to do that because there'll be a curb there. So yes, we are sensitive, and we are sensitive to a group of houses tight to the road there. And so as you are probably aware, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the solution to improving geometry of the hill has some impact on driveways and some impact on houses and some impact on church and stuff. But yes, we have taken a look at it, and yeah, we're looking forward to having a response, actually. Almost excited, actually.
okay, thank you, Brian and Robert, for that. Are there any further questions on any of those projects? Yes, Janice?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank Street, can you explain that to me again? Because I see there's a $35,000 budget, and I, for some reason, was expecting a larger job.
Yes, we're going to put the top on the hot mix on that small project that was done a couple of years ago. We had laid off last year, thinking we would do more further to the east. It's our thought that we're just going to put the hot mix on what was done a couple of years ago and leave the larger project until, the department and the municipality can talk more about designs and impacts and cost sharing. So there was not a big project intended on Frank Street in 18.
Okay. Can you tell me the hot mix? Can you
It's
tell
just
me
the
where
first
it's
block.
going?
I think it's just
block?
a Brown Street, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there's just one lift on there now,
Yeah.
and the curb's down.
Okay.
So we're going to tidy that up.
Tighten up. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Paul?
Brian, there's $30,000 in there for, what item is that? 10A, Scone intersection at Bruce Road 30. What are you intending there?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. These are these small jobs that morph into timely and energy-absorbing activities. 2 years ago, we attempted to replace steel beam guardrail on the west side of the bridge on the south side of the road. And in order to do that, we had to relocate the bell line, and we're organizing that when we found out that half the bridge was on land owned by Aaron Eldersley. And we're still working with Aaron Eldersley now to see the transition of the property go from the municipality, and it was in the old name too. It was an Eldersley name that had to be changed to Aaron Eldersley's name and then transferred to the county for us to have the ability to ask Bell to move, to get out of the way to put steel beam in. So it's land purchase. It's I think the OLS is done. I'm looking at Sherry. I think the OLS is done. And relocation of Bell and putting the steel beam in on the southwest of the bridge, not necessarily the corner because there's a driveway there. So that's the amount of money for this. This has been an ongoing thing, trying to get this tidied up, but we see it being done in 2018.
Thank you.
Okay, Milt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, Lions Head, 60,000. What?
Yeah, actually, Jerry and Larry had some small things they wished to improve mid-block, and I'm afraid they'd asked for an amount of money, and I would be better served by them responding to it.
That's good. And the other one is, it's 9A listed here, Highway 6 to Everett Side Road.
Yeah, I think there's $10,000 on a couple of things.
Yeah.
Just just to finish off work from last year.
Okay.
Is the guys finished, and there's probably the odd wheel rut in someone's lawn, and just the minor things to tidy things up and seed it down. And there was just Jerry and Larry said there was just a little fine tuning they wish to do in the spring.
Good. Thank you.
Mitch?
The sign right at Holyrood has Teeswater going left, Lucknow straight, but nothing going to Ripley on our little sign. So Ripley is not recognized there. So I've had a few comments about that.
Would that be one of those big 911 signs? One of the big blue. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Past Warden. I just hesitate a little bit because sometimes they're not an easy fix. They're kind of not an easy fix. Okay, but certainly, I see that we're taking notes as you speak, actually.
All right. Good year to get that done. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Brian. That was received for information. The next item is B, the Road 33 realignment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just an acknowledgement that members may have seen ads in the paper in Saugeen Shores, and I thought I would just bring them up to speed with what's transpiring in 2018. Again, we had mentioned the four-year project on County Road 25 and 33. 2018's year one, putting the storm sewer in. Year two is going to be doing road work from the about to be Bruce Street in the future west towards the lake. Year three, 2020, is from the proposed Bruce Street to Highway 21, and in the year 2021 is the possible realignment of County Road 33. You're aware that we did a master plan on the entire project, a very, very large and complex project. That gives us the authority to move ahead with a number of Schedule A projects, which 2018 is a Schedule A project, the work we propose this year. What we're hoping to do this year is also prepare to the Schedule B project for the possible realignment of Road 33. So the ads you're seeing in the paper are looking at the options for that realignment, you know, the do nothing, make an intersection improvement at the existing intersection at County Road 25, or the realignment. This will support the possible land purchase of the lands for the realignment that we would try and complete in 2018 to support work in 2021, but it's the foundation of the work in 2019 and 20. So we want to do that 2021, prepare for it by acquiring the land, so that we've got the ultimate solutions acknowledged by community, and that we've acquired the land. So you have seen in the paper, I believe the ad is here. I think Carrie's got the ad there before you, and it's been ran in papers. We're getting comments. I think Saugeen Shores, Manager of Public Works, is getting comments as well, and positive comments saying it's a need and a wise approach to the solution.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Our next meeting is February the 15th, and I need a motion to adjourn. Mitch and Milt, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.